Hey everybody, welcome to the Bourbon Battalion Cigars. Chris, Zach, me, talking a whole bunch of stuff. What's going on with the battalion? Chris is going to do a recap of fun shit and what's coming up new. What's up, guys?
What's up, gentlemen?
What is shaking, everybody? Back in the good old Illinois, finally. A couple of weeks of travel, so I'm here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, you had a lot of miles, a lot of miles.
Almost 4,000 miles in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What's up, Stacy and Tater? Cheers, everybody.
Well,
So, so let's talk shop.
Let
What's going
us.
on? Or how about we start with the recap? Let's start with a recap.
Yeah,
How,
so,
how that?
man, I went to Bourbon in the Barn, formerly Pours in the Park. Bourbon Junkies action. It was absolutely awesome. They moved the venue this year, so it was in this big, huge, amazing barn. Um, It was a really good time. Bottle share was awesome. Battalion cigars were a hit. Got lots of great comments from the community on them. Nick Jones, formerly of the Texas Whiskey Crew. Everybody kind of knows Mr. Jones being in the Junkies crew there. Said it was the Valor is absolutely fantastic stick. And his main comment is something that we've told everyone to this point. So he took and said to all of us, this stick is approachable by everyone, you know, and we've said that, but that is great to hear that coming from somebody outside of us to just ring true with that. And he was like, dude, these are really good. I really liked them. Um, you know, another member of the group, Adam Hunt, um, big time cigar guy. He's like, man, these are great. I absolutely love it. Can't wait to get these ordered up and stock my locker at the cigar lounge with them and be passing them out. So, another great comment. We had Drifting Drams. They were posting live from the courtyard on the Sinesta while they were passing out samples of their coffee to everybody on Saturday morning. Ethan was out there smoking the Uncommon Valor. Absolutely dug it. Gave some pairing notes on it. So that was really cool to have some interaction going on in the morning. Him talking about that with people out in the courtyard. Him talking to people on Instagram about it. Um, all I can say is everybody that had them was really happy and has placed orders for them. You know,
Right.
we had Richard from Jeff the Creed. He's one of the distiller operators there. He put in an order. He absolutely loved the cigar. He thought it was fantastic and instantly put in an order after he had his. So,
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that got into them absolutely loved them. So, Bourbon on the Barn was definitely a hit with the Battalion cigars. Overall, if you've never been there, fantastic event. Um, you know, night number one VIP. You can't go wrong. You get in early on that, you get your coin, you get to go to the VIP event. It was at Godfather's Cigar Bar over in Ferndale, and that place is awesome, absolutely awesome. We had a couple people smoking the cigar there. Jeffrey Wack from Hello Again Whiskey Friends smoked the Valor while he was there. Said it was absolutely awesome. He wished he had got out to smoke more cigars this year, but the weather hasn't been the greatest, as we all know, in the Midwest. He said, but you know what? This makes up for it. I really enjoy this stick. So, we were getting comments all weekend through from everybody. Great event, great people. Bottle share was awesome. Tons of people sharing cigars out there. The event itself on Saturday was a hit. You had Bardstown, Green River, doing presentations there. You had Ben Holiday, Traverse City, the Junkies had their stuff, of course. It was just a good showing. Penelope was in the house. Um, Lots of good stuff, man. And I got to give it up to them. The first year, there was only one food truck. It took a long time. Last year, it was better. There were two. This year, there were three, and it was phenomenal. Nobody was waiting. All the food was great. People loved it. Um, the event went a lot smoother this year. There's a lot better group of people. Last year it was bigger. They had more people. They cut that back, and that really cleaned a lot of things up, and it like eliminated any of the problems that arose the year before, with just some people who didn't know what they were in for and hitting it a little too hard once the bottle share happened. And you know that's not Dan or Sean's fault. That was just somebody who didn't know their limits and like exceeded them really quick. But this year, no issues. No issues. Great time. Look forward to them next year. So I'd say Bourbon and Barn was a success from the event standpoint itself, and for Battalion Cigars, with us just launching the day I got there, and people loved them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can't go wrong, and I told everybody to be absolutely transparent with me. If you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. Just let me know your honest thoughts. And, hey, man, I didn't get any bad comments. I got nothing but, highlight comments and people making sure they went and ordered after they had the stick. So the stick spoke for itself. That's all I can say.
Yeah. No, and I had an event this weekend that kind of showcased the same thing, right? So I run bourbon club events for different country clubs and that stuff, and I had a member guest event, and they had an option to come up and get individual sticks, and had 95 people, or at least 95 of the cigars where they came up. I don't know if someone came up more than once or something. That's hard to tell. And I had nothing but really, really, really positive feedback. A bunch of people did come up and ask how they could get more. So yeah, I mean, overall, we've had a really, really good feedback of everybody that we've had it out there. They're everything I remember. They're exactly what I had hoped for in the idea of being a very, very medium-bodied, full-flavored cigar. Very, very approachable to someone just starting, and also intricate enough for someone that's very advanced. You have taste flavor profiles from the very beginning all the way through, and a lot of significant changes. So very pleasing. Works really, really well with whiskey. Works really well with coffee. We have particular ones that we found that we really, really thought hit the mark with it. That's why I'm drinking a Watch of Craig tonight. On the Scotch side of the house, we found that there was a couple. Zach.
If you wanted something, kind of standard offering, Highland Park worked really, really, really well. If you wanted something peated, Lefroy actually worked really well. So I was kind of actually really surprised by the Lefroy combination, because it was kind of out of left field.
Right.
When we initially got the first batches, I just I was just trying a bunch of stuff, and that was one of the ones that really kicked. But tonight I'm actually drinking bourbon, so we're drinking Elijah Craig tonight. So
yeah, and I'm doing the same. I'm just using he did it with the Action Jackson. Nice. Yeah, no, it's been really good. It's been a lot of fun. Looking forward to it continuing to grow and getting more people's hands. There's definitely stuff going out to different people, and there's merch. So if you haven't looked at the Battalion Cigars website, I encourage you to. There's a lot of cool things. New things will be going up all the time. Um, so let me see here.
Sorry about that. I got disconnected. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yeah.
you.
Okay. My earbuds got disconnected. The kids had some questions, so I had to go take care of that. So I just missed out on all that.
I know how
Oh,
it is. At least they used to. Although, all my kids still come to the house. And like Briston came by earlier and she was asking for, like, where's all the snacks at? I'm like, go get your own snacks.
You got a job? Go buy your own snacks. Yeah. Well, listen. My wife came home with
Look at that.
with two cats today.
Oh,
what?
So, yeah, I expected one, and then two show up.
You got the kitty of the cats?
We got two of them now.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, woohoo!
there
It's
you go.
cool. We named and there one of them's name was Finn, and I was like, okay, well the other one's name has to be Jake for anybody that knows Adventure Time. Finn and Jake. So,
Yeah.
well,
Well, let's talk a little bit about, what's to come.
mhm.
What are some things coming up? So I can tell you that the next cigar is being made. So that is being made. Typically, what happens, they go through the process of getting it made, and then it must rest. It'll be in the aging house for approximately 30 days. After that 30 days, it'll get boxed up, banded, and shipped, and then eventually to us, where it will rest another usually 10 to 15 days to make sure that it goes through the thawing process, the rehydration process, and all the stuff that goes on with being at the very bottom of the belly of a plane multiple times. So those will be, I would expect to have 2 to 3 more drops this year, somewhere in that. And then I would pretty much count on the idea of there usually being about 5 a year. There could be years with more or less or whatever, but so the next one that'll be coming out, this was a Toro. The next one coming out is going to be a Robusto. More information to come about that. So just be looking out. The names, the labels, everything's done. Now it's just a matter of waiting. So a lot of cool things going on with that. We already have the blends created for the five cigars. So we're ready to go on that side of the house. So everything else is just, doing it in a timely manner that makes sense. So
Yeah, man. Lots of good things happening.
I see the banner going across. Let's talk clusterfuck. Right? And I'm going to kind of start it a little bit. And then, Chris, I'm going to hand that over to you.
Okay.
So, yeah, I wanted to have like a private club, right? Something where we can do some fun stuff, where we can get people involved. And, when we did that in the military, it was always just, we'd be like, hey, you know what? Let's have a clusterfuck, right? Where it was just a cluster of guys fucking around. So that's all it was. So guys, girls, whatever it is, it's the idea of getting together, having opportunities for cool things, having opportunities that are only available in the club. Chris will talk more about that. And so that's where that came from, right? So just so that you're aware. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Chris.
So, some of the cool stuff with the clusterfuck. So, you're going to get access to members only merch, which is going to be pretty darn cool, if I do say so myself. And these guys have already seen some of the first stuff, so you're going to want it. That's all I'm going to say on that. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag on that one, but you're definitely going to want it because it's, yeah. you're gonna want it.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have access to merch that nobody else is gonna have access to at Battalion Cigars. That's number one. Number two, we are working with a lot of private groups, a lot of different brands right now, with coming up with custom cigars for them, for events, for their groups, for their brands. You'll hear more about that as that happens. We'll definitely have them on. But one thing with that, those are exclusives just to them. But if you're a member of the Clusterfuck group, that is going to get you access to the vault once a year. We will take and open up that vault. We are ordering extra of all these cigars that are made for other people. And as a member of the Clusterfuck, that will give you an opportunity that one time a year to get in there and order the different sticks that are going out to these private groups, brands, and the collaborations that we're doing or private events. So you're going to have exclusive merch. You're going to have access to exclusive cigars for other groups, brands, events, etc. You're also going to have access to barrel picks. So we have already talked to a couple different brands, more than a couple actually,
Yeah, a bunch.
about doing barrel picks that will be strictly for the group. And the only way to get that is to be part of the clusterfuck.
Right.
As a member of the clusterfuck, you will also have the opportunity to go with us when we select. We will draw names because everybody has their own set numbers of how many people can go with to do a barrel pick. But when we do those, we will draw names out of the clusterfuck, and you will have the first right of refusal to come with if your name is drawn. So that'll also be a really cool experience. You get to come hang out with us. You get to do a barrel pick, smoke some cigars, drink some good whiskey. It's going to be a good time. Trust me. So those are three of the main things that we got going on with that group. We will also have special herfs with that group. We're gonna have different get-togethers. Probably we've talked about it. Probably like a once a month get-together with the group to talk about what's going on, the state of Battalion Cigars, what's coming up. Like you're gonna be in the know before everybody else as part of that group. You know, consider it our own version of Patreon, basically. You know, we want to make it a private group. We don't want a bunch of tiers. It's just straightforward.
Yep.
We have X amount of spots, and that's it. We're not going to exceed it. We're not going to go over it. The only way to be able to get in, if you don't get in at the beginning, is for somebody to drop out and you to hit it on the right day and find an open spot. But it will be exclusive. We're not going to go over the original number. It is what it is.
And it'll be a yearly, right? It's
Mhm.
going to be a yearly.
Yeah.
So if you don't get in the first year, you're going to have to wait and hopefully someone drop the second year.
Right. And I guess I forgot to say, on top of access to the vault, there are going to be custom blends that are only for the clusterfuck.
That's correct.
And we already have that one figured out already too for our first
Yep.
one.
We
That
do.
will go along with the original kick-ass merch that's going to go with it. And I'll tell you this, I don't like to compare to other brands. So there's some other brands out there that have their own private groups that make some pretty cool merch. If you're in the cigar world, you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to throw names out there, but they have their like one-off merch. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be really cool stuff. It's going to coincide with the cigar release that we do that's special just for the group. So it's going to be the whole package. You're going to have access, hats, shirts, sweatshirts, the cigars themselves, probably some other cool things that go with it. So,
Yeah.
pretty cool group. Pretty cool group.
It's
I'm excited
going to
for
be
it.
a lot of fun. It's going to be
I'm excited. I'm excited because we're gonna get to create our own community around this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things is we've been a part of a lot of communities. We've
Yeah.
seen communities grow. We've seen communities fall. We've seen them get too large and have to scale back. And we've kind of figured out, like, we're in a position where everybody else ran out in front and kind of figured out what not to do. So we're in the position to take the benefits of what to do, what people actually like, what they're looking for when they join these types of groups, the type of benefits that come along with it, So
Right.
I expect this just to be, top notch, that the stuff that Chris is coming up with, guys, is seriously amazing. There's no other way to say it. Like, it's dude, it's just cool, man. It's just cool.
I'm having fun. I'm actually looking at it right now while I'm talking about it to hype myself up, and I'm getting my little laugh and my excitement going at the same time. I'm like, I can't wait to wear that stuff around and be like,
There's no question about it. That's gonna be fantastic.
oh
I look
yeah,
forward to wearing it everywhere, just to like the shock and awe.
Oh, it's
Love it.
Especially when I go to when I go to down to my lounge in Texas.
oh yeah, dude. That's gonna be a home run right there.
Yeah, that'll
You
be a
guys
lot.
get into your sticks already? I'm sure you did. I'm behind because I ran in to get the
Yeah.
kiddos.
yeah.
You guys
Yep.
poured your drinks already, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We talked about that already.
Correct.
What we're drinking.
Yep.
I'm gonna have fun. We love the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I got an A119, so 135.2. Still got the cool neck tag with it and everything.
Yeah, and
C9
Still got the
C920.
plastic. I'm cracking this bad boy.
Oh,
I've got the private barrel.
C920.
Cheers to the Valor, guys. Cheers to the Valor. Like, I mean, if we're going all in, let's go all in.
132.8. 132.8 on that C920.
There you go, a little fresh pop.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Ooh, look at that cork. That cork's seen some
Oh,
love.
yeah. Ooh, that's alcohol vapor right there.
That
So
it
one of
is.
the questions is, when are the sticks shipping? They're shipping
Friday.
Friday.
Everybody that's ordered already, you're gonna start to see me updating your orders with the tracking numbers tomorrow. That's on my agenda to start getting those done. I'm gonna have all the labels printed off tomorrow. So Friday morning, they'll all be going out UPS. So everything's coming your way. I'm just honestly waiting for the boxes to get here tomorrow.
Except if you ordered merch as well.
Yeah, if you ordered merch as well, those will go out on Tuesday. Tuesday on that. So if you ordered merch,
Bourbon Barrel, hand delivered mine, Chris.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, he lives down. He's one of my guys who comes over here to the house.
And I hand delivered some as well. So
Yep. So he'll be getting his this weekend. I'm not going to ship him down the street, or 10 minutes away. That's kind of defeats the purpose. I mean, it could.
yeah. I think just take the pooch for a walk and drop off some sticks.
Yeah.
So Bobby,
Yeah.
that's just cutting that cellophane open on that package and letting it sit one more day is perfect.
Yeah. Well, I think there's certain things to know for the people out there that, if you really know, if you really fucking Franchi, if you really know a lot about cigars, right? This is going to be knowledge you probably know. But if you hold that back up there again, Zach, your cigar, let me highlight you.
The bug zapper was going off, so I was trying to. But
okay.
Man,
there we go.
You can see.
Yeah, show the whole thing. So if you notice, right, you don't see a big shiny patina on that. You see a lot of different, where it's not the exact same consistent color all the way through and all that stuff. That's because nothing's been added to that. That is a true premier leaf that hasn't had any kind of wax or any kind of oils put on it. to put it in that situation. So I think it's good for you to know that when you're smoking this, a lot of times you'll get a cigar and it'll have that really nice shiny patina and all that stuff. Those are oils and stuff that have been put on there to look a certain way. These are 100% all natural hearts. They cut from the hearts, one wrapper, 51-degree rolled from one half of the leaf, which is one side of the vein / the other side of the vein. So you're getting the best of that wrapper. The binders are not pieces; they're full bunches, and everything about this is 100% naturally hand rolled, premium cigars, right? With a lot of thought into the blends. Now, the thing that I've always wanted to do, and this was like my driving force, is that there was nobody out there that was putting cigars as a thought into whiskey drinkers, right? They're just, hey, we're cigar smokers. Now that doesn't mean that these aren't cigar smokers, right? They are. They're cigar smokers, cigars. But there's a thought in that, what would they pair with? How would they pair with a bourbon? How would they pair with a scotch? How would we pair with this or whatever? And I just really wanted it to be one of those things that most people I know that do cigars do whiskey or coffee, which I completely am 100% on both bandwagons. I have coffee and cigars almost every single morning. So the thought is that we wanted to give an experience so that if someone was new and had a cigar and they wanted, like, I don't know what I would drink with this. Everybody has different memories of their palate, so you're going to have different thoughts, but we're going to give you our best ballpark entry level of where we say, hey, listen, we think this is going to hit with this, and you'll enjoy it together. So that kind of information will be sent out as well. What our picks are, what our thoughts are, what our pairing notes are, stuff like that. So just food for thought. What's going on in the background. We're talking about that. We compare notes, figure out, what are we finding common and stuff like that.
I mean, this was such an interesting cigar to pair to bourbon, because actually it turned out to be a little tough. All of our initial thoughts about what was going to pair really well with this, they kind of all didn't work. And we were all just sitting there, and I was just like, well, let's try Elijah Craig. I mean, it's worked before. So we all pulled out an Elijah Craig barrel proof, and on first sip, every single one of us was like, that's it.
Yep.
Like, it's not even a question. This is, and listen, you don't have to have a barrel proof. If you like high proof stuff, great. You know what? Go pick up the Elijah Craig 94. Okay, it's going to be a great freaking bourbon with this cigar, and you're not going to have all the high proof. It's not going to be hot for your palate. But there's something about that Elijah Craig profile that just fits with all of the transitions on this cigar, all of the flavor changes. It just works all the way through. So, we were pretty set on bourbon, going, this is it for us. And if it's not it for you, then hey man, let us know what it is, because the more interaction that we get, it helps us for future. Maybe you guys tried something we didn't while we were going through this, and maybe there was a maker's mark expression that would have worked. You know what I mean? We just didn't consider it. So
Speaking of Maker's Mark, did you guys see their new private barrel labels today?
Mm-mm.
Threw me for a loop. I saw one posted. If you've seen their new one for the hearts, the cursive writing across it, the new private labels are all like cream color, but with all black writing. They look sweet, man. Those labels, that threw me off. I thought it was a LE. No, it's the new private labels. Those look pretty cool.
Wow.
Hey, Texas Cigar Society, what's going on? Nice to see you hopping in with us. Saw you make a comment over on the Instagram tonight. These are our first release, the Uncommon Valor.
Which, wonderfully, since I'm still in the spotlight, a wonderfully designed label there for everybody. It does not do it justice, man. I'm telling you. Just wait till you see this thing up close. This is one of it just goes, man. Like
Yeah.
when you see it on this cigar, you're just like, yeah, that's a badass freaking. It's a badass. Way to go, Chris. Took
So
ideas and ran with
sometimes I
it.
do things right.
We think you do a lot right, buddy.
Hey
No, I
man,
think
I'm not gonna toot my own horn on anything illustration or design. I've been doing it professionally for over 25 years. So for pro sports, spirits brands, cigar brands, so it only makes sense that I'm doing it for something that's I'm
yeah,
part of.
right. Well, I think the thing that's always nice is, when you um, have a thought and you can just relay it and know that they're going to take what you think and all this stuff and then put it into something that, is because, there's things that everybody's good at, and there's things that, you have to admit sometimes that, hey, that's not my cup of tea. And so I can, for me, it's really simple. I know what I want to call this, or I know I want to do it this, and I know the pieces parts, but I don't know the organization.
Yep.
And that's when, it's nice to be able to just say, hey, Chris, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? He's like, cool. And then I have a sketch in like an hour or two. And then there's tweaking all that stuff, but usually it's him tweaking. I'm kind of like, cool. So it's
I'm a tweaker. Ah,
No,
thanks,
but
Bobby.
the cool thing about it is Chris can take all these wild ideas and turn them into something, that incorporates all these ideas,
yeah,
that it really conveys that that label conveys its name, right? The uncommon valor. There's history there. So they're one. It's wonderfully designed. And the
Actually,
merch is
history tied to this week.
oh,
You know, as
yeah.
crazy as that is,
It's funny that I was actually watching that today. I was
Yeah,
I was literally watching them interview Admiral Chester Nimitz,
that's awesome.
and I was just like, I had a whole bunch of them. I was like, ooh, raw, yut, yut, and I was all moving because I was like, because it's such a cool thing. For those of you that don't know, uncommon valor got its heart and meaning from the idea of uncommon valor was a common virtue, which was a quote from Admiral Chester Nimitz at sea as he was watching the Marines at Iwo Jima. And when I started thinking about, our first cigar and our first stuff, I wanted the premium cigar to be, uncommon valor. Not just from a military perspective, but from an overall perspective of anybody that shows uncommon valor. That can be anybody, doing anything that's uncommon. But it's also the idea that, one, it's uncommon. It does have a proprietary blend to it. It has a thought process behind it. And it just made sense to me. And when I bounced it off these guys, they agreed, and then it also goes along with, my Marine Corps military heritage and stuff like that. But anybody that knows me and knows what I'm talking about, Admiral Chester Nimitz and the quote and all that stuff was all United States Navy, so um, it just made sense. And the artwork that Chris came up with was spectacular. I gave him a thought. He ran with it, made it his own, and came back. And I let out a hearty hoorah. And so did every jarhead and Marine that I showed it to, and a couple of Navy guys. They were shocked that my first label was a Navy admiral. And I was like, well, he's a pretty bad dude. So
well, you know what? And I mean, it fits with the very ethos of this cigar, which is there were no shortcuts taken in the production of this cigar. This is just tobacco at its finest, honestly. At its if a cigar could have integrity, this one has a ton of it.
That's a really good call. You know, I talked about that a lot this week when I was presenting it to people. You know, because one of the big things, in the cigar world, we get a lot of stuff. We don't really get to ask questions. We don't get to know about the process. We don't know how involved the brands really are with the blends or the behind the scenes, you know. And I got to present that to everyone. I got to explain about, you know, using the hearts. I got to explain about using full leaf fillers and binders instead of, you know, short leaf and everything else, you know, and just really explaining how long of a process this has been and how everyone's been involved from start to finish, where, you know, we herped these out, we took notes, we decided what we liked, what we didn't like, we smoked them fresh, we smoked them, you know, 30 days out, we smoked them 45 days out, just to make sure they were what we thought they were, you know, to make sure all these things were happening, you know. And when people get to hear that and see that you're putting in the time, that makes a difference, you know. It's not just, hey, we want to be a cigar brand and we slapped a label on a random stick and boom, there you go, you know. That's not it here.
No.
Everything was meticulously done. I mean, I have a notebook, I have a freaking notebook full of notes of everything we've done from every cigar we've smoked to this point. You know, I have, when we're doing our tasting notes, everything else, I have, you know, sketches of things to come, you know, while we're sitting here. Mind you, you know, when Bobby says I sketch stuff on the fly and Zach says that, you know, you're not really going to get to see the whole thing, but, you know.
But he literally does. I've literally been talking to him, and he has a sketch down as we're talking.
Woo! And boom, I'm just kind of doing that, like, while we were talking and smoking that actual stick, I was sketching the label for it right at that time.
Right. Well, I think, you know, you hit the nail on the head on the idea of, you know, time. Nothing was rushed. Everything was very meticulous about it. And that goes back to the idea of having really good tutelage from people that we trust, right? It says, hey, listen, if you want to do this, this is how you should do it. This is what you should be looking at. This is what you think. And believing in that person and knowing that they have my best interest at heart is always such a cool thing. And building that rapport, right? That relationship, so that no matter what, you know, you have that, you know. And I've been fortunate enough now, I've been with the manufacturer owner and the master roller 5 times now. I've made trips to Florida to go down and meet with them and see them, and I've made trips to Chicago. They made a trip here, which is outstanding. You know, they don't have to do that stuff, but they were going on an event and made their way over this way for my event.
Yeah.
And, you know, you build that rapport, because when you have that kind of rapport, fellowship, friendship, it just makes things a better process.
Oh, totally. And the one thing you haven't touched on, you know, we're all getting certified as tobacconists as well. This just isn't, like I said, hey, we're throwing a band on it, or hey, we're picking a blend. We're actually putting the time in and getting certified and everything, because we want to be able to speak to everyone about every little nuance of the cigar industry and be able to really inform you and be informed ourselves about everything and how everything works that goes into these sticks. We think that's very important across the board.
One of the funny things that I've been told multiple times, and I'm sure you guys have too, and you've experienced it as well. When you get to the point, because this is a pretty big wrapper, and you got to pop it off. I don't know that I've had very many wrappers in my life that come off so well. Literally just pop right off. No effort, no ripping, no tearing. And the nice thing about that is no damaging my cigar wrap.
That is no lie.
It pops off super, super simple.
Yeah. It either pops off or it'll slide off.
And it looks amazing.
I always try to pop so that I don't accidentally catch the leaf as I slide, but you know what? You might, whatever works for you.
Yeah, don't
I've
slide.
had
Don't
I've
slide.
had some of them that just slipped off.
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah, like it just wasn't on there very tight. So I'm like, cool, that's great. It comes off in one piece. But you talk about what we learned during this process. It was immense. The amount of information that we got, in
Mm-hmm.
this process, to be able to speak on things, to it got to the point where we were asking really good questions, uh, and the master blender was just, like, these are good questions. Like, this is, y'all are in this for the right reasons. Like Bobby said, none of this was rushed.
No.
We had conversations about this 2 years ago.
Yeah. The first thought of doing this was like almost 2.5 years ago. The very first thought was,
Oh man, dude, you told me 5 years ago when I first met you.
well, I knew
your
I
goal
wanted,
was to start a cigar brand
but
at some
I
point.
think the fact that
And I had that conversation with you.
The moment that it actually became like real, I knew I wanted to, because I was just like, man, I've had so many cigars, and I smoke a couple cigars. So, I mean, anybody that knows me knows I smoke a couple. They just missed the mark. They could put out big plumes of smoke, but there was just no. But now, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of great cigars I've had too that I love, and I still smoke and I love them. But there wasn't anything out there that ever had notes towards the person that wanted to pair and wanted to drink with it, and people didn't understand that. And I've always been more entrenched into how do you have a better experience. How do, and I think that's been my common term ever since I've ever first came on to YouTube. Is just that I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to help people have a better experience and learn. And that's always been my plight. And just like the first time I launched my YouTube channel was my brother. He just said, "Dude, you got to do this because no one's teaching." And so and he was like, "Dude, you have to do this because people want this. They need this. How to pair and how to do that." And so he was the first real big push. Like Chris is right. I've been talking about wanting to do a cigar brand for a long time.
Yeah.
But the things have to, I'm a pretty patient person. Things have to be right. Things have to make sense. And, doors open and doors close. And it just so happened a door swung wide open. And when that door swung open, I walked right through it.
Well, and you know what? We took the time to honestly meet the right people.
Yeah.
We talked to people that we were like, oh, that's not going to work, right? And when we found the person, we were like, oh, like it was like the light bulb went off, and we got told a bunch of times that us not rushing through this process was the best thing that we could have done.
Yeah. And I'll throw this out here, and we've been told this multiple times from our manufacturer. We've spent more time with them than anybody else has spent with them doing this and asking questions, and vice versa. I don't think you're going to find anybody else that their manufacturer was willing to spend as much time with us,
Right.
because we were so hungry for knowledge that they were loving it because they were getting to educate us and know that we're here for the right reasons.
Well, not only were we
It's
asking,
more than just having a brand, you know.
well, I think to go along with that, Chris, not only were we doing that, but we were listening and we were
Yes.
asking. You know, there's one thing to listen to somebody and have them give an information. It's another thing to value that information and put it to use. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's been one of the things that I know I appreciate and I know they appreciate is that, you know, not only did we get the information, but we took it into consideration and implemented it. You know, because there has to be that thought process. If you trust that person, then why wouldn't you?
Right.
So, and until you have a reason not to, which I have zero reasons not to. So, but yeah,
Hey, boss.
this wasn't the first person I approached about doing cigars. I had talked to 3 others about doing cigars, and it just something just always didn't feel right. The timing wasn't right. There was other things, and then next thing you know, it, like I said, the door swung open, and everything that I needed happened all at once.
Yep.
So right now we have our first one out, Eric. We have 5 blends created as of now, plus 1, so 6 total. 5 that's going to launch, 1 that's dedicated only to the private group. And those private group ones there'll be stuff that will coincide with private group releases towards, you know, barrel picks, towards different thoughts. And they'll be very unique. You know, there's some really fun ones that I've been in talks with. So the very first one just launched is a medium body full flavor. It still falls under the dark realm, but it is not. You know, it's an incredibly approachable one, Eric. What you get is you get a ton of flavor and flavor changes all throughout. It's not light. It's also not dark. It falls somewhere into that medium range with full flavor and 4 signature flavor changes throughout.
And that is something that was brought up during the Bourbon at the Barn event. Several people did mention that they were really excited when I told them we wanted a cigar that had ebbs and flows and took you on a journey.
Yeah.
That came back to me when they were done and were like, you weren't kidding. It changed from the first third to the second third, and it even had a change in the final third and smoked all the way through with enjoyable flavor. It didn't flatten out. It doesn't become ashy. It really had flavor to the end. And, you know, I touched on the fact that even though it is that darker cigar, several people did say this cigar is approachable by everyone, whether you're a novice smoker, a very experienced smoker, or an intermediate smoker on your cigar journey. You know, and these are comments that were just coming back from people that I sampled out sticks to at the event. So
We've also had people that are notorious for not smoking, you know, down into the final third, and they've been able to smoke this cigar all the way down further than they ever have. So
yeah,
I think it's a testament to the quality of the tobacco. It's a testament to great construction. You know, that final third is not getting hot. You know, you're not getting hot smoke. And the ashiness, you know, that's one of the things, you know, people are like, oh, well, you know, it gets a little ashy, you got to purge it. This, you will not have to purge this cigar.
Yeah, no, you don't have to purchase cigar. You can take it all the way down. You ain't going to sit there and have like an over salivated mouth. You're also not going to have a dry mouth that's really balanced. And then you also find that as you get down there, you don't have that ashtray effect. You know, it comes in really clean. It is clean smelling. You know, you can have, like I smoke in my lounge. I have a cigar lounge down in my basement that has a bar. And I can tell a difference when I'm smoking certain cigars where I come in and I'm like, oh, I could tell I had cigars. And then I come other times, I'm like, well, that's really light and pleasant. Like it didn't give that, right? And
My,
these
my
are that.
my wife's made mention of that coming out here in the garage. Like she'll come out here tomorrow and she'll be in a good mood because it doesn't smell like what she calls stinky cigar. She's like, "Oh, I like the cigars you're smoking now because like it's a nice, pleasant tobacco smell. It's not stinky cigar, you know." And I'll take her word for it. The woman has a nose on her, so
Right. Oh yeah, there women named Bridget have schnozzes.
yes, yes.
That is
Like
a fact.
my Bridget will tell you every note under the sun on the nose of a bourbon or a rye all
Uh,
day long, and I just sit there and I'm like, damn,
my wife can smell a possum that got hit by a car 3 miles away, and I'd be like, "What are you talking about?"
yeah,
Like she'll do that all the time. She'll walk in, she's like, "Oh, do you smell that?" And I'm like, "No, I don't."
exactly,
I'm like, "I have no idea what you're talking about," and she'll tell me. Or the thing I hate worse than anything is we'll go and she'll say, "Oh, this candle smells so good." I'm like, "I don't smell anything." So I'm like, "You say it's good and it makes you happy, I'm in."
yeah,
I think that's the thing that's really cool, right? These cigars are incredibly consistent. I will tell you that I think the thing that's always important is when you get your cigars, understand if they've been shipped to you, they've went through a freezing process. Yes, Anthony, it's been active since last week.
yeah. There's merch available. The sticks are available. You'll find them under the name Uncommon Valor. We have to do certain things and can't say certain words in the merch store.
Yes.
But the sticks are there. Just you'll see Uncommon Valor. You'll see 5 packs. That is the cigars.
Yeah.
I have been asked that question when we did launch the store and the sticks. So I just want to let everyone know it is there. You will see the logo. The logo right now is up in the top corner over here.
Yep.
Look for that logo on the merch store. That's the cigars.
Yeah, it'll be under a shop. It will show up the profile and all that stuff because we were rushing it, right? Because we had a July deadline and we made our deadline.
It'll all be on there tomorrow.
However, we didn't get to put in all of our write up stuff, which is going to be in there tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's on me, guys. I'll take the blame. I've been on the road. If you weren't on here earlier, the last 3 weeks I've been on the road, put 4,000 miles on. I actually launched the store while driving down the highway on my way to Michigan on last Thursday.
That's a fact.
I pushed the button driving across the Illinois-Indiana border to get the store live and was like giving Bobby updates as orders were coming in. So I've done my best. I took a bunch of merch photos today, so you'll start seeing a lot more photos of our stuff,
Eric, the first release is just a Toro, if you're asking that. Right now, it's just the Uncommon Valor, and it's a Toro.
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll typically be one Vitola.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because right now we're still doing small releases. Right now I'm only doing 1,000 at a time. Now I expect that to change next year, but until everything makes sense, then I'm going to continue to go with what advice I've been given, thoughts I've been given from people that I trust, business people I trust, the people I'm working with. So common sense to me is, hey, you know what? Take your time, do it right. Don't try to get ahead of yourself. And that way you're not sitting on a whole lot of inventory.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, our first one that we have coming out with a private group, that private group, when they released them, sold out in 2 days. So that group sold their allotment out that fast. So those will be coming to them in the next 45 days. So that's exciting.
Yep.
There's lots of really good things going on with our brand.
There is.
We have other companies that are on board that you'll find out. Yep. We have distilleries. I talked to a couple places this weekend at the event that are interested, that are taking stuff back, that are looking for talking to their marketing departments about doing a custom cigar from us. for their distilleries as well. And we already have some on board, but it looks like we're going to have more on board. We have another private group that's going to be doing a stick in late November, early December for a release, for their Christmas release for their group. So there's a lot of really good things going on.
Yeah.
Like, we're excited, to think that you always hope, I'm going to say this in plain business, you always hope it's going to take off the way you want it to. But when you do things right and take your time, you kind of end up in that shock and awe moment of, oh, wow, everybody's hitting us up left and right. Like, I don't think when we were looking back on this, even 6 months ago, that we expected distilleries and private groups to jump on board right away and be like, yo, let's go now.
Well, but also some of those groups that y'all talked to were like what Bobby said. They tried to get this done through other people, and that's one of the things about the relationship we have with the manufacturer is, we were able to get them blend profiles, to them really quickly for them to turn around and make to make a choice. And then, another, 45 days, boom, they're going to have sticks in hand. Hey, what's up, Raider Dave? How you doing, buddy?
Well, I think a lot of that goes back to the idea that, taking the time to bring something to market, make sure what you're bringing to market is good, and then helping people to understand, hey, listen, if you want, anybody can go out there and say, hey, listen, you find a place, get a cigar label slapped on it and put something. But if you want it to actually be a representation of true what you want and taste profile and stuff like that, it takes time. It's not a ton of time, but it isn't necessarily as fast as you'd like. If you want it, in 30 days, probably not going to happen because we don't, unless someone says, hey, we want you to do a blend for us, which we have that too. They usually want to pick their blend. So we give them different blend profiles. We send them out to them. They go through, they try them, they taste them, they figure out what they want. They put in the order, and then we go that way. So, there's a little bit of time in there. I would say that roughly you're looking at probably from the first talks to in your shop or in your hand and all that stuff with private groups, probably talking closer to that whole 65, 60,
I'd say 60, 90 days.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. Could be sooner. No sooner than, probably 45 days.
Right.
But yeah, I think the 60 to 90, because you have the 30-day aging, and then you have, the initial rolls go out and all that stuff. So yeah, there's a little bit of process, but not terrible bad. But you're getting it the way you should get it. And even once you receive it, you still have to sit on it and acclimate it for 15 days. 10 to 15 days, I say, in my experience, it's been closer to 15 days.
Yeah.
You sat on them for a good 15.
I sat 16. On them for 15 days before I sent.
Before you even pulled one out. Yeah.
Yep. I sat on them for 15 days. And then I remember I kept one of the very first samples we had to make sure that sample went against this, and they were spot on.
Yeah.
Oh, getting these, they're absolutely spot on. They're just as good as we remember. I have a feeling put a few back, let them sit a little longer. I have a feeling these are just gonna richen up in profile, honestly. Even though these are fantastic.
And if you guys wonder about construction, I mean, dude, they hold up. That's another thing everybody talked about. When you try to ash these, they don't want to ash. They're built very well, and you can tap it, it doesn't want to fall off, which is another testament to the quality.
And a lot of that goes back to the bundling process, right?
Yes.
The bundling process is such a crucial point of that. And that was cool to learn all that stuff. I went down there with them. I bunched, rolled, made my own cigars, blended cigars, did it with them. The very first day I was there, I did 40 cigars that weekend of smoking.
Yeah.
Smoked 40 different blends. And then let me tell you, it was fantastic. So I would like to say that, like, wow, that was too many cigars. No, it wasn't. It was wonderful. So,
Yeah, but you also got to talk about that process. You roll them, you smoke them for a couple minutes, and then you're on to the next one.
and yeah, you're not
It's
talking
not
about
like you're smoking 40 total
like
cigars.
little bitty cigars. You're taking about a good 4 to 5 good draws to get the flavor compounds, get it in there, feel the oil, get the whole texture of it to get it in your memory banks. Then you move on to the next. And so, there is a process, because then you go through, because we even did single leaves, right? You were doing single leaves to get different flavor profiles and say, wow, I think it's almost like blending whiskey, right? You're getting profiles. You're like, wow, if this had this, that would taste really good. And wow, if you did this, that would be really good. And it's really nice, because just so happens our master roller manager of the whole hoot nanny is a whiskey guy. So that doesn't suck.
You want to talk about the makeup
Of the cigar?
Yeah.
Oh, what it is? Yeah, so it's a Brazilian wrapper, an Arapiraca, which took me forever to learn how to say that. And it's a Brazilian wrapper with an OR Dominican binder and a proprietary blend that includes San Andreas in the filler. So that proprietary blend is proprietary because it's a very unique blend that makes sure that your mouth feels and all that kind of stuff are the way they are because of that. So, but we'll always give you the root, just not the entire makeup. But yeah, this is an Arapiraca Brazilian wrapper on a Dominican binder. That's correct.
Put that on there just so people can see if they have any questions.
And it is, I'm telling you right now, I promise, although I may seem like I have bias, this is one of my favorite cigars I have ever smoked. It is easily in my top 3 ever. Based on everything, construction, taste profile, taste changes, mouthfeel, saliva. I mean, all the things that I look for in a cigar, and pairability. I can pair this to a lot. I can say right now, someone asked me, like, what was my favorite thing to pair it with? The triple shot espresso caramel macchiato.
Oh yeah, we did that in Chicago.
I did that, and I was just like, oh, this is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
I did it every day. When I was down in Florida, I went on vacation with my wife. I took time out of my vacation to go to Itches to get these, a sample. And then I sat and smoked one every single morning with my coffee, thinking, okay, well, this was really good the first day. Is it going to be good the second day?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, every day was great. But I was able to also look at whiskey and other things, like, and it wasn't just like lattes, like, I mean, like just plain, I did a French press. Actually, one of the French presses I got that me and Chris did from Drifting
Drams, yeah.
Was
the Action Jackson.
Yep, was delicious.
Yeah, that's actually what Ethan and Katie had while they were at Bourbon in the Barn, when they were out in the courtyard in the morning at the hotel, when they were serving up their coffee and giving out samples to people. Ethan was doing the Action Jackson with the Uncommon Valor while he was out there. And if you want to know how our stuff stands up to other high-end cigars. I mentioned Nick Jones earlier, the guy who said it's very approachable and a fantastic stick. Um, to give you an idea of what he was smoking on the weekend and what he had before he had the Valor that day, he actually had the La Union stick that is the collaboration between my father and Tatawahe. That was the limited edition release that came out. And those retail at $50 a stick. And he said the Uncommon Valor was fantastic and stood up to that. Another stick I saw him having over the weekend was the Don Pepin 20th anniversary that comes in the beautiful Ellie blue humidor. I mean, that's a $13,000 set that comes out, and he's like, dude, your sticks are on point. These are fantastic. I love it. So that'll give you an idea of what other people besides us are saying about these.
I mean, and listen, everything about this, even at this price point, this this punches so far above its weight.
Oh yeah.
I it's actually this is an insane value. Um, and this is going to be the one that basically this is the one that represents the whole brand. It will always be around.
Yeah. So there'll always be an Uncommon Valor. It'll be released when I want to release it. But there'll be iterations, right? So you will know if it's released 1, 2, 3, or 5. We have a unique way of doing that. I know exactly how that's going to be done. There's no question in my mind. I've had it in my brain, and I shared it with Chris from day one. That there'll be a way of telling that, and depending on how everything goes, there may be a small clusterfuck release of batch 1 down the road. It just depends.
Yep.
So, but I will say, they're going. They're going. I was very happy with our immediate sales.
Yeah, for sure.
And things are going well with that. So, how long will they be there? I don't know, but they'll be there until they're gone. But there's also been some allocated for the vault.
Wonderful stick. Wonderful.
I just never can get over there is a signature change, right? And I've had this conversation over and over and with my brother because my brother bought a bunch, but I have a very loving, supportive brother that loves me unconditionally and supports me unconditionally. But he said it was easy to spend the money because it was really fucking good. And so we came down and he's like, I have this weird change that happens in the final third. That's very, very unique.
Oh, it's signature all day. We've
And
talked about that, and we all had that moment. All went.
And it's so weird because the progression of changes makes sense. And then at this level right here, there's a pop. It's almost like it just does it. And you're just like, that's crazy. That's just crazy. And every time it happens, it makes me step back for a second and say, that is so consistent at that spot.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I do. I remember when we were doing it the first time and it happened, and all of us had that moment. We weren't sure if what happened really happened, and we were like,
yeah,
what? And then we all brought it up and we're like, yeah, I got that, but I didn't know if it was just me. And we were all laughing because we all got the same thing, but we're shocked that we got that. And that, dude, that's cool. I mean, I don't know, out of all the sticks I've had, there's only been a couple that really have something going on in the back third. that keep me happy and keep me going.
Well, but none of them get to this point, and it's the lack of ashiness.
For
Okay,
me,
I
it's
mean,
the
you're
lack of tar. It's the lack
yeah,
of bitterness. It's the lack of that stuff, right? Now, I will say though, us three people here, right? Um, I spend a lot of time on exploring myself how to get the best out of a cigar. And I've taken the time to share thoughts. I know I did it with Chris. Chris and I shared some thoughts when we were in Chicago. I've shared thoughts with Zach. Zach shared thoughts with me. Um, but how you smoke matters. How you smoke matters, right? First, you have to not be a freaking tribal chief and sit there and be token to get your peyote to the point that you have spirits. That is called chiefing.
I like that comment. I do like that comment.
That's
That was
called
awesome.
when you're smoking too much, too fast. That's called chiefing. You don't need to chief. There's such a good flavor profile in this. You will find that you don't have to do that. Let that fall back in your palate, just like you would a drink, right? Let it sit back there and resonate for a while. It does such a good job. Also, be really poignant to the direction of how you're smoking. Don't always smoke so that it comes directly onto your tongue. You don't need to do that. Maneuver it around. And then for me, I think the most amazing thing that I ever discovered on my own and was able to rebroadcast is how to do a soft draw. A siphon soft draw changes
Mm-hmm.
everything on the back end of a cigar. All that is
I showed that to several people this weekend, and they went, "Holy shit! It tastes different, like in a great way." And
yeah,
that was the same thing that happened to me when we did that in Chicago.
yeah,
And you guys sat me down, and it was like,
yeah. When you just make a nice tight seal on your cigar, and then just breathe through your nose, and it will gently siphon the smoke in instead of a direct throat pull, and it gives you a really nice broadcast that's even throughout your profile that you don't have a directional.
and
It just
it's very effective in the
oh,
final third.
very
and
effective.
Very
no
effective.
more grovelly voice the next morning, sore throat. Not really sore throat, but you smoked a cigar
Oh, dude,
the night
I
before.
know plenty of people that would get a sore throat, right?
Yeah,
Not that their
yeah,
throat would be sore, but the muscles would be fatigued.
yes,
You don't
yes.
you don't even use a muscle if you do a soft
Mm.
draw. But it takes a second to figure out how to do it the best for you. I usually do like a really quick little soft one that I puff out because I know I'm drawing back into my nose, so that's where I get my retrohale. Yeah, you don't hot box or cigars aren't piped. You just simply just
Yeah.
and but it's obviously produced in smoke, but I'm putting so little effort into it. I mean, little effort. It's just a natural siphon effect.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
So, but yeah,
I
I think
love it.
the thing is that it's they're flipping good. I'm not even joking. They're so good. Um, just to be completely transparent, each one of us got a marketing pack, right, to send out that stuff. And in that marketing pack, there's a group of 25. 5 are for us to have, 20 are to marketing share. Anything else we want, we have to buy, right? Because
Yeah.
buy them. The merch, man, Zach bought the merch. It isn't, it doesn't make sense to not. So, I will say, if you haven't went on the store and looked at the shirts, there's a shirt in there that freaking makes me feel like a real American hero. And as soon as I saw it, I was just like, Chris
Hold
knocked
on.
that out of the park. And
Listen,
that
man.
was like an Easter egg for us. He did not tell us at all.
No, he just sent it out, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, we knew what it was immediately. As soon as we saw it, it was like, "Oh my
Dude,
god!"
as soon as I seen it, I
just
sang
works,
the song.
man.
I sang the song out loud.
It just works, man.
And I
It
identify
absolutely
as a
works.
certain one of those
Awesome,
guys.
Dave. Yeah,
But yeah.
man. We're also fortunate, that it was, I guess it was 2 years ago, and it was, I guess it was what, late 21. Oh, I guess it, wait, yeah, late 21. You and I sat down and we were like, so how do we do this cigar thing better, right? And what we found was, YouTube wasn't the best platform at the time,
No.
and and and
Mm-mm.
and what we found is we found this insane cigar community over on Instagram,
Yeah.
and the number of people, the variety of people, the diversity that with people that we got to talk to, from people running cigar events to, people, just, we were like, this is where we were supposed to be, and we're lucky enough because, that's where we got to meet Raider Dave and everything, from all that stuff. We were fortunate enough to know and really befriend the cigar clowns, and truthfully, we studied what they did. We Bobby and I would have discussions. We were like, this is what we think they're doing really good, and this is where we think that we could improve upon that process.
Right.
And that's where all of this came from. And it was slow and steady wins the race. It was always our thing. We were like, we're not going to rush it. When it's right, it's going to be right, and the opportunities will happen and they'll be there. So it's been great to.
So Dave, the reason why that blend, right? That blend gave availability. So if you look at a premium cigar is wildly approachable. Meaning that if you look at the biggest brands, you can look at Opus X, you can look at Don Pepper, you can look at a bunch of them. The premium sticks are usually medium bodied, full flavor. They're not overly dark, they're not overly light. They fall in a perspective that gives you
Yeah.
nice, approachable flavor that can be really, really enjoyable. You think of from the whiskey market, why is everybody always about, the Wellers and the Buffalo Traces and all that kind of stuff out there? Most of the people are chasing drinkable whiskey.
They all like Weller because I don't like wheat. So thank you to all the people chasing the wheaters. I appreciate
Well,
it.
I'm just saying, like if you look at it,
I'm right there with you, Chris.
You look at it, but if you look at it traditionally, yes, we have eclectic palates where we're not drinkers though. We're sipper profilers, right? We like to enjoy a sip. Drinkers like to have a good drink that doesn't burn, doesn't hurt, and it's really acceptable to your palate.
Dude, 2-finger pours, man. 2-finger pours in the rocks glass when you look at a drinker
So
compared
what I wanted to do is I
a
wanted to have
connoisseur sipper.
I wanted a cigar that a very advanced palate could walk up to and say, wow, this is really good. And someone brand new could be like, wow, this is really good. And I wanted if I'm going to drop a premium stick, which this is a premium stick, I'm dropping one that is someone that comes into this and buys it off of a recommendation. Maybe someone bought it off of FOMO, whatever. They're not going to come in and be disappointed. They're not going to come in there and say, wow, this was bad, or wow, this didn't hit the mark, or whatever. They're going to notice from the very first light, wow, this is good. Because, we all have had plenty of cigars that you light the first light, and you're like, okay, I know that I'm giving up the first quarter or the first quarter inch to half inch to just get it lit and take it in. This flavor is from the light.
From the get-go.
Till put it out. Yeah. There's so many changes. So that's why the blend was what it was. It was just a conscientious thought that was first, brought to my attention by, my manufacturer, my master blender. And he actually came up with the blend. We just told him what we were looking for. Because the last thing I'm going to do is try to go to a master blender and the world's #1 roller and tell them what to do. That doesn't make good sense to me. I'm an educator, and I am not going to try to out educate the guy with the answers. But I can tell them what I'm looking for. And now I know I can always do that because I have such trust because I've tried all 5 of our blends.
And to back that up, when he says the world's top roller, Oscar has honestly won. He won that award back-to-back years
Yeah.
in the Dominican when they get together,
Yep.
and all the top places send their top rollers to do it. He won 2 years in a row, and
Not
more
even
than
close.
doubled the one year he was over triple the output of anybody else. And they told him he's just not competing anymore.
He
And
is
that
he's the Katie Ledecky.
yeah.
He's the
Yeah.
Katie
Yeah.
Ledecky. It's like 17 seconds difference. It's not even
You
close.
know,
Yeah.
Bobby,
Or the Ryan Krauser, man, dropping,
Yeah.
4 feet farther than everybody with a freaking 16-pound shot. Like,
right?
when Oscar drops it, and trust me, I've watched this guy videotaping him. He will roll cigars. He'll have everything laid out, and he will look me in the eye, look at me the whole time, roll the stick, get done, and hold it up and go, yeah. And you look at it, and you're like, dude, how did you roll that and you didn't even look at it? And I mean, that's from start to finish. That's not pre-started or anything. That's grabbing, rolling, everything. And I was just in awe. I'm like,
But you're talking about
oh,
someone that's been rolling in excess of 40 years.
yeah,
So I mean, it's not like he's just started, So
But-
he's got a lot of time under his belt and a lot of expertise. And he's worked for some of the biggest brands that are out there.
not some of the
biggest brands.
and the most elite
Yes.
Yeah.
of elite brands when you walk in Humidor.
For me, if I were to give this cigar to somebody who's just starting out, I think the greatest thing that this cigar is going to do for someone that's really new to smoking is it's going to be an education for them while they're smoking, because those changes are so distinct, right? They're gonna be getting flavors they've never gotten before.
Yes.
The construction's so good that it's relaying all of that information, to your palate. And it's probably one of the best teaching cigars you can give anybody.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I think it's shocking, like when you sit and, I mean, when you get the cigar, and especially when you get into the body of the cigar, right? I mean, you're going to have tons of flavor and stuff out the rip, but how easy it smokes. I mean, so easy. It's such you're not fighting, you're not doing anything. Now, I will say, though, it's going to be very important that if yours is shipped, and I said this earlier, and I'll say it again, you need to let it rest.
yes.
I know you're going to want to pull it out. I know you're going to want to smoke it.
We all do that.
You've
We all
waited,
do that.
Give it a
you've waited
week.
this long. Give it a week.
Yeah.
Give it a week. Get it into the right temperature and right humidity for your area. Make sure you put it in a box with other, with your cigars. Just let it naturally, balance out. And
Absolutely.
go with that.
Yeah. And what you're gonna get is something awesome, because this rung true at Bourbon on the Barn. This rings true tonight. If you've watched us, you've not watched a single one of us get our
Relight.
lighter back out and touch
No.
it up. You
I have yet
haven't
to
seen
ever
us have
relight
to
one of these.
relight.
Nope.
And I mean, that rung true all weekend. That was another comment everybody made. Like, I didn't have to touch this up. I didn't have to relight it. Like,
I'm at that spot right there, and I will go until something burns, either a finger
Yeah.
or a lip. Usually fingers I can deal with. I used to have blisters all the time, but the lips, yeah, you know what? That's a little bit worse.
It's just
So Kevin, y'all said, why wait? What does that do? So,
Oh,
good question, right? This was on Instagram. The reason why you wait is so if it's been shipped, that means it's went through a process where it froze. There's
Yeah.
natural humidity into it. It's in a plane. It's in the belly of the plane at typically 30,000 feet. If you ever look on a plane when you're doing that, that's usually about negative 50 to 64 degrees. So there's a freezing process that naturally happens that you have no say in. What you want to do is make sure that you get it back to acclimation so that that thawing process happens, and that you get it naturally accustomed to your environment. Zach usually is in a temperate area that's super humid, so he needs his cigars a little bit drier so that when he goes out to smoke them, and the humidity they start sucking up immediately,
Right.
he doesn't have a bad smoke.
Yeah.
Other places you might be in Arizona where it's bone dry. You need it at like 72 to humidity so that when you go
Yeah.
outside and it starts zapping the humidity, it drops it down to a smokable thing. So mostly though, you're looking at making sure that you get it unthawed and to a point that it's smokable. So a lot of times people will smoke, it's not really drawing good, and they'll like smoke, and then they'll get like this big hard, it's like hard and you can't even get through it. That is not a knot. That is not construction. That is humidity that has bonded together because you're drawing it too hot. The leaves have gotten humid and they've stuck together and they just get hard. So you want to make sure that if you can't draw it naturally, and you try to puff fast, stop doing that and try to take really slow, long draws. A slow, long draw will give you a better effect than taking a lot of hot draws. Because the more you ash it up with a lot of humidity, the more you get. Basically, it merges together into a big, hard, knotty knot.
I think
So,
some of that, whenever you're getting hot smoke, if you're getting hot smoke in the body of the cigar, that's an indication you're smoking too fast.
mhm.
You need to
Yeah.
slow down. Your cadence is there's not enough rest time in between puffs, right? Body of the cigar on this cigar, I mean, you can go 2 minutes honestly between puffs, and then take
Oh,
another one. It's going to be lit. You don't
yeah.
have to worry about that. When you're sitting there and you're having to keep it, and you're puffing it to keep it lit, that's an indication you've got too much humidity in the cigar, and the environment that they're in probably has too much humidity. It that old adage of 70/70, it's way more dependent upon your particular environment. And you live in a humid environment, you want your cigars a little drier, like Bobby said. You live in a dry environment, you want them a little wetter, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're
It's
gonna you're gonna have cracking issues.
oh
You
yeah,
know.
and it's like you think about your bourbon or your whiskeys. If you get them delivered to you, or even if you buy them, they've been out in your car, they've heated up.
Yeah.
You want to let them get back to your standard room temperature, or just your house temperature. You don't want to drink it warm.
Mhm.
So you think about that. It's the same way with that, but it's going the opposite way. You don't want your whiskey warm. You don't want your cigars right after they've been on that plane doing that. Let them acclimate, man, because it's going to taste so much better, just like your whiskey, if you let it acclimate as well. It goes hand in hand with both.
Right.
I always say that smoking cigars is a lesson in patience. That's from storing them to smoking them. So,
I will say this though, my Elijah Craig has been delicious with this.
oh,
I feel like my
phenomenal.
cigar has heightened my Elijah Craig.
Oh, I can agree with that. I'm drinking this old A119, 136 proofer. The cigar mellows it out. It does. I'm gonna say this one's got a little heat. It's a little different than getting the
And
B520s and
I'm
the
telling you, you can
C920s.
smoke
Yeah.
it down to a nub and it still draws good and it does not draw hot. I'm not getting like an ashy, hot, over drying note.
Man.
And I don't know if you really touched on that, Bobby. And the reason for a lot of that and the non-ashiness as you're smoking it is the fact that we are using the hearts of the leaf.
That's
We're
correct.
not They chop off the top, they chop off the bottom, just like the distillation process. You don't want the heads and the tails because that's where the impurities are. That's no different when you're talking about cigar leaves. That's no different than, when you think about humans, us too. The impurities or the toxins go to the extremities. It's the same way. It's a living organism. That's where they go. So when you cut that off, yes, it's going to cost more, but you're eliminating all those impurities and you're getting the best of the best. And it makes a huge difference. Like, that was an experience for all of us learning about that and like seeing it. It makes the biggest difference that you can't even imagine.
Man, all I can say is it's a great cigar.
It is.
I can't wait for everybody to get to try it.
Oh, I couldn't even tell you how proud I was, to have all those people come back and just have wonderful things to say, and I was honest with them. Like, if you have any complaints, you have any dislikes, I want to know those. If you have any construction issues, if you have anything going on, please tell me. We
Yep.
need to know this.
Even if there's a
you know?
question, even if there's just a
Yeah.
question, like, if someone said to me, hey, you were getting this and getting this, how were you doing that? Ask. Yes, we are what we are, but anybody that knows, it's always been about the education. The better experience. I will say that until I can't talk,
Yep.
which is going to be a long time because now I can talk. So
I know, dude.
Now
Your
that I
voice
have-
is so much better
now
now.
that I had my throat surgery and all that stuff, and everything is much better, it's nice to have a voice. And it is. It's such an enjoyable thing to help someone find notes. And this was taught to me one time by Dave, right? Not Raider Dave, but a different Dave, a guy I know that I really respect. And he said something that I thought, that's a really unique way of saying that. We all have the exact same palate. We all have a different memory. What I taste and what you taste goes back to memories.
Mm-hmm.
And helping you to find your memories of something is what I love to do.
Wonderful.
Yeah, dude.
It's
It's
such a good
awesome.
cigar, man.
But that cigar lasted an hour and a half. I'm an hour
Yeah.
33 in, and I lit it when we started.
I went about an hour 15, but yeah.
Well, I went
Good.
down to where I could feel the burning on my
Yeah.
And I'm the slowpoke. I actually started later than you guys tonight,
You guys
just
did-
because I had
you
to
did
run
start
inside.
later because-
But I'm relatively slower than these guys. I have sped up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Last night I was super slow. Let me tell you about that. I was like the slow kid. Woo!
It's not a race,
Mm-mm.
It's all about finding that natural cadence that does not impact the smoking experience that works for you.
Oh, dude, I absolutely love my cadence. I'm not gonna lie. I don't ever feel rushed. I hear people sometimes say their chest hurts or their throat hurts and stuff, and I don't run into that. Now, I did try to change my cadence when we were first herping through all these and stuff, to try to keep up with you guys. Yeah, there was one time I did myself dirty. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But I figured it out, I
Right.
figured it out. I figured out my cadence so we can all be in the same places when we're herping and taking notes. But I'm good with it. I'm gonna finish last. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. But I can at least be in the same places, man. And but when we're doing that and we're taking those notes, I gotta keep up. I have to keep up. So yes, I do smoke a little faster than I normally would, but like tonight, Eric's right, man. It's a marathon, man.
Yep, absolutely.
I am not Noah Lyles, man. You ain't gonna see me winning by a foot. Ain't happening.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
That race was so close. I could.
There was a lot of cool Olympic moments this year.
Been a lot of
There-
controversy too, though.
Yeah, there has been.
Yeah,
Been a lot of
there's
controversy.
been a lot of goopy stuff. I mean, I'm gonna tell you. 4 years ago, we talked about this last night. You know, Sha'Carri Richardson was all about herself 4 years ago. Dude, my heart goes out to that girl for showing up when they didn't let her through that gate. And unlike her counterpart from Jamaica, who was the other, you know, the top three with her in the world, that she said, no, I'm not going to be able to compete at my best. But Sha'Carri, with no warm-ups or nothing, went out there and ran the best race she could possibly do. And dude, she coming home with a silver medal with no warm-ups. Like, that just speaks volumes of how good she really is.
Dude, that is so funny. Raider Day.
Listen, man, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I got mosquito dactyls, dude.
You do have mosquito dactyls down there.
Okay, man. Like, they've been bad, dude. You don't even understand. Like, I came out.
I was talking to Zach. Was it a week ago? I told you, I said, you better be careful with those mosquito dactyls.
The book is out, boys.
Mosquito dactyls. That was
the mosquito dactyl.
Dude, and listen, I'll tell you what, you know, there's mosquitoes and then there's mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And down there, you know, like the zaps he's getting, it would be like bigger bugs to me. And like those are just like mosquitoes. Now, there's nothing better than getting like a big, like a locust or a jar fly, depending on where you're at and all that stuff. You know, we won't go down that. Yeah, June bugs. You know, you have all that stuff. I had a June bug a couple years ago hit one of my zappers and literally caught flame.
Oh, they do it all the time, dude.
Dude, that stinks so bad.
You can sit there. You sit there. They like zap for like 2 minutes straight.
Did you guys see the text I sent?
No, I haven't looked.
I know you guys are on your phones and stuff, but
well, I was writing down notes. That's one of those moments that, you know, that might be a clusterfuck thought down the road. Something that refers to bug zapper and mosquito dactyl.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, thanks, Eric. I appreciate it, buddy.
All right, Eric, have a good night, dude. Good seeing you on here.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for chilling with us and finding out more about Battalion Cigars and following us tonight.
Yeah.
So
I think we're at a good publishing point.
I think we're at a fantastic publishing point.
Yeah, I think this has been a really informative thing for anybody who wants to go back and watch it and see whatever's going on. But yeah, I think we're gonna end this, and who knows, you might see us somewhere else, just goofing around.
Oh my god!
Thank everybody.
Say what?
Thank you everybody for jumping in. If you're on other platforms, you might see stuff, but for this, I want to have a really good, approachable, not multi-hour, and look forward to doing this again. Right? We found a way that we can do this. Enjoy cigars and be on YouTube and Insta at the same time. So thank you again, and we'll call it.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you for coming
everyone.
out.
Yep. Cheers, everybody. Have a good night.
We appreciate all the support.
Yep. All right, guys. Later.